May 3rd, ladies and gentlemen, May 3rd. Let's get into this. So the market, 7-day snapshot here, Santa Clarita Valley, 93 new listings hit the MLS this week, 87.1 million in new list side volume. We have average list price $937,000, median 845. We have price per square foot average 468. 76 different listing agents competed for those 93 listings, meaning that pie is wildly fragmented. 88% of agents took only one listing this entire week. Repeat seller business is rare and earned. Sweet spot 750 to 1.5 million. 59% of all inventory. Honest seller side area, Canyon Country, we got 2. 63% of the sellers are still living in the home when they list. That's interesting as well. Those houses got to be shown, folks. So if you are somebody that's going to occupy the residence as you're trying to sell, instead of selling it, buying something first and then selling it, there's a program, there's a lending program out there that does that sort of thing. Ask me for more. I built a site just to explain how that works. Let me know. And then 31% list vacant. That's the other side. Staging lockbox strategy is showing flexible. 76% of the new listings have HOAs. Something you need to know, average 294. Disclosure game in the HOA world, the seller is responsible for paying for those HOA docs. And, the prices astound me. $900 for an email file. Yeah, maybe I just don't understand it. Maybe 28 years isn't enough in the business. All right, I got top 3 questions here. Sellers ask, and this is what's going on in the world. Number 1, what's my home actually worth in today's market? Depends on who you ask. But very simply, you look at 180 days of data. This should be on the data set that an agent, a qualified agent, that like I give my sellers, and I give them 180 days of data. The closer to today is better. So let's say in the last 3 weeks, 4 houses sold that were just like the sellers. Oh, beautiful world. Even if the bedroom, bathroom count is off, if they're from the same builder, kind of close in square footage, you can do allowances for those things. You can say, look, these 3 had 4 bedrooms. The one here in the mix that we're going to include in the comps had 3 bedrooms. Lovely. Then you just do that cost differential. And you say, okay, well, the bedroom's worth this much. And that's what people will pay. Now, if everything else is the same, the view's the same, the elevations are the same, location on the street's the same, because let's say the backyard is a busy street or a backyard or overhead or high frequency power lines, then you move over to another area that isn't on the street, there's going to be a cost adjustment there. But ultimately, when you're looking at these numbers, you go to the online syndication sites, you're going to run into a lot of nonsense. And they're going to be built around trying to give you an answer to the question, what's my home actually worth in today's market? They're going to work on you and try to give you that answer that gets you to give up your personal and private information. And once you do, stand by. You're going to get emailed through the gills by agents that are playing those systems for you information as leads. Number 2, how long does it take to sell? And how do I get top dollar? By positioning and by listing price. And you'll see this in the variables. When you're looking at those comparables, you'll see how long it took those to sell. And then you're able to make determinations as to your pricing strategy and then potentially how long yours is going to take to sell. Now, if there's something that's got, like right now we have the war in Iran, right? We're May 3rd, 2026. We have that going on. Let's say that ends tomorrow. More than likely, we're going to probably see a bump in the real estate world, more people getting more motivated. I don't know how long gas prices would take to come down. I think in my brain, they just got to milk us a little bit more. So I don't know if it's going to come down immediately. Because the oil companies are slashing, barrels of oil down, 50% from where they happen to be now. For example, yeah, I don't know if the gas pump guy at the Chevron on the corner, we don't have Chevron anymore. Whatever gas station on the corner is going to walk out and change the numbers. I think they have to make their money, squeeze out whatever extra money. And maybe I'm wrong on this, and I apologize if I am, but I think they're going to squeeze it out anyway. All right. So I don't know how long that's going to take, but that would be an economic change that would potentially boost up real estate. And there's other factors too. We looked back at the late 2006, 2007. when the last real estate market collapsed. And they say these run in 10-year cycles where we're way overdue for a change. And we still don't see it coming. Everything seems to be moving forward. The interest rates, they might not be your friend. You might not like them, but the historical record of interest rates, they're very low in comparison to all times that they've been tracked. And when you look at it, maybe those will be coming down also. And if that happens, that's another bump. We'll get more houses that start to get listed for sale, and we'll get more buyer activity in the market. So it might change. So the time to sell is going to be very much your timing dependent. Right now, I did a show yesterday where we have a lull in the market now, but it's about to pick up because you got that spring and that summer rush based on people's decisions because they have kids that they need to rejockey for position in school. So you have the San Fernando Valley parents that are in private school with their kids or public school, and they're like, oh, God. And they talk to their buddies that live in Santa Clarita and say, well, Buffy and Johnny go to this school and, you should come out and check it out. And lo and behold, they come out and they say, hey, this is good. The houses are cheaper. So now they're going to list their house down in the valley, come out here and buy something. And they're 100%, or they're going to quit renting down there and bite the bullet and come out here. But there's an economic drive to do that. And we see that kick off during quarter 2, quarter 3, typically. Once we get past summer, though, into August, September, then it starts that holiday slowdown. It's going to take a little bit longer, or you have to be creative with a pricing adjustment. But right now, we're about to jump into that springtime rush and summertime rush where people that have their kids in school, dependent on moving them to a better or different school system, that's going to take precedence. And also, people in general don't wait till midwinter to move from California to New York. They go typically at a time when it's a little bit nicer weather. All right, so that's how long it takes to sell. I answer that one in a circular answer. You know what? It's going to depend on the area. Right now, we have average days on market time frames 40, 50 days. If the property's priced right out of the chute, there's a high buyer drive, it could go in hours. It could go out when it's still being pre-marketed. That's when it could go out. So it could go really quick. And you'll know within the first couple of weeks how that pricing strategy is. If your pricing strategy was too aggressive and the buyer drive isn't there, you'll sit for, it might be showing out of the chute pretty good for that first week. You'll start to see it slow down after day 7, day 8. And then you might want to reinvestigate the price and maybe do some kind of a strategy. If all the other dots have been all the other I's have been dotted, T's have been crossed. What does it actually cost me to sell? What's negotiable? It's all negotiable. Escrow, I've been pretty good at getting escrow discounts for sellers. That's the biggest. Title is kind of difficult. I've seen it happen, but it makes me a little nervous when title discount. I don't know what that's all about, but you can ask. It doesn't hurt to ask. Agent commission rate, that's negotiable on both ends of it. So you're hiring a seller's agent. You can check out sellersonlyagent.com. That's what I charge. That's what I charge everybody. I think the sliding percentage scale has been outdated for a long time, but maybe I'm old fashioned or new fashioned. Anyway, you can check that out. Some agents charge 2.5%, 3% to represent one side, something you have to discuss. And then the buyer's agent on the other end. I've been watching with the listings that I've been taking, the buyer's agents aren't, I was going to do air quotes and the word greedy, but yeah, they're being pretty understanding. And then come to find out at the latest listing I sold in Whittier, the agent said that his buyer beat him up pretty good, wanted to compete. So instead of asking the seller for the 3% commission that the buyer was going to pay their buyer's agent, what ended up happening was the buyer picked up that and then only wrote the offer charging my seller 1%. So, if you have 5 offers on the table, which we did, and everybody's asking for 3% directly from the seller, and somebody else asking for 1% directly from the seller, yeah, that's a good chunk of change, a big difference. So something to consider for anybody out there, but it's all negotiable straight across the board. Just make sure you get it in writing with whatever they say. Mine's a fixed flat fee, fairflatfee.com. I started that certification program if you want to see what that's about. All right, what does it actually cost me to sell? So your seller's closing costs are also going to be your part of escrow, your part of title. Like I said, escrow, Yeah, I mean, if your agent's not going to do it for you, and I do it with everybody, but if your agent's not going to do it, call up the escrow company. More than likely, that escrow company, and you have the right to select. But usually, the escrow company is going to come to you as a recommendation through your agent. Call them up and say, hey, I understand you're my escrow company. Listen, can I get a discount on this thing? I'd appreciate it. Can you help me out with that? You don't get it if you don't ask. So why not ask? If they say no, and I don't think they will. Anyway, feel it out. Top 3 questions buyers ask. Now, I don't represent buyers anymore. I haven't done it in 7 years. I've been representing buyers and sellers for 21 years of my career. And I became a sellers only agent back in 2021 when I had a life-changing experience. We can get into that in some other video. Should I wait for rates to drop before buying? The story, the rule of thumb is marry the house, don't marry the mortgage. It's cool right now. I know some lenders that are offering no cost refinance 2 or 3 times as life evolves of your mortgage. So if you buy now and the Hormuz and Iran and people get happy and start to buy more of those 10-year bonds in the American market, then we have interest rates come down. Hey, it's all good. You just refi. Just refi. That's a loaded way to say it. Refis cost money. And if you've been paying on a mortgage for 15 years and you go to refi, you start over at 30, right? So maybe in that situation, it wouldn't make sense. Maybe. Got to look at all the numbers, though. Maybe you're paying some massive amount. Maybe you're stuck at 60%. You cut it down to 8. Yeah, maybe that's somewhat worth it when you've been paying that long. But most of these refinances we're talking quick, and you'll know when it's time because you'll start to have your phone ring off the hook by every lender trying to solicit you and say, hey, guess what? Interest rates came down 1/1000th of a point, so will you refi? The number has to make sense. If they're calling you and saying to refi when interest rates dropped a certain amount, what's that look like? How long is it going to take you to recoup the damage of buying down your rate? And then how long are you going to be in the property? Are you going to be there for the rest of your life? Are you actually going to be one of those sellers that pays it off, which is incredibly rare? But if you are, maybe it would be worth it to have the refinance down to a lower rate. Maybe it's worth it to have a couple. But what's the percentage that makes it worth it for you? So you have to look at all those variables, because if they shave off half a point, taking you from 6.5 to 6, how much did it cost? And what's your savings every month? And then now, how much have you already paid? If you've paid 6 months, what's that number look like in interest? And then how long is it going to take you to recoup that damage plus the fee and get back to zero? And if it's 8-9 months and you're going to be there 5 years, yeah, you won that. But in some cases, that's not how it's going to work out. So you gotta sit down. And again, I'm an AI person. Maybe you ask your AI, even if you go to private mode, now the world's going to know your business if they really want to know it, but it's in there. So be careful. If you have your own local AI, even better, because then it stays in your box and doesn't go anywhere else. All right. So we have that. What was the other one? How do I know I'm not overpaying? Oh, yeah. So marry the house, not the mortgage. Number 2, how do I know I'm not overpaying? You can explain, okay, so if you look at the other properties that have closed in the neighborhood, and just like on the seller's end of it, right? Again, no buyers for me, but your agent should know this. When I'm doing this, a CMA for a seller, you as a buyer should also get some kind of a market analysis on the residence you're purchasing. And it should make sense. And you shouldn't see properties in another county trying to be compared with this one because they're trying to get you to write a higher offer. And if you encounter an agent working for you, your agent, the one you select to represent you as a buyer, and they're doing this, yeah, they're done. You finish it, you move on, you say you're fired, I'm going to hire somebody else. But if they're being upfront and honest, you'll see the complete picture. You'll see where the value is, and then you make your offer accordingly. Why wouldn't you just make your offer at value? I don't know the market. I don't know how hot it's going to be in that area you're purchasing. Right now, the market's a little cold, a little soft. But we notice that when properties are priced right on the number, we get multiple offers. Even in this market, people are paying attention, buyers are waiting, and a lot of them had realized that rule one, marry the house, not the mortgage. But you'll see that. So when you're getting ready to place an offer on whatever piece of property, just have that complete market analysis put together from your agent and look at it. And if you want to play the AI system, you can take that and plug it into your personal AI system and say, does this make sense? What would you offer if you were me? And just get a rundown. And not saying that you have to, but you have something of a super intelligence or a artificial intelligence that's pretty good at crunching numbers. See what it says. And you can probably get away with some free stuff. Again, your information right now, it's doesn't seem to be propagated out there for everybody to see right away, but the internal mechanisms can see it. And if somebody wanted to query it or pull it up, you see attorneys getting in major trouble by putting clients' private information in. You see financiers, mortgage brokers, other people putting their clients' personal information into a large language model, doctors violating HIPAA, doing that, asking for it. Yeah, it's a problem. So be wary if you're going to take any kind of advice from anybody about how to get your LLM, your OpenAI's ChatGPT, or your Grok, or your Claude, or Gemini, or whatever involved in any of your processes. The stuff, it just goes. All right, that's more advice that you didn't want. How do I know I'm not overpaying? What's wrong with using the listing agent as a dual agent? I don't know. I don't do it. I don't represent buyers. So I'm seller side 100%. That's a sellersonlyagent.com. That's what I do. In some cases, you do what you want. See what the agent says. My problem with it is now I have to be bipolar. So I already got the listing. I already convinced the seller I was the one. Now the buyer comes to me, wants to buy the house. Now I'm charging an additional commission because that's how I would do it. And that's how I think everybody would do it. And then after that point, now the buyer comes to me and wants certain things done. I already told the seller we're going to be fighting all these things, but now I'm representing the buyer. The buyer wants these things done. Now I'm going to go to the seller. Seller says, well, you already said we're going to fight all this. What is all this? It creates that bipolar issue that I'm not on medication for, so it's difficult to perform. I stay away from it. Just not my thing. I probably had a handful of real estate transactions in the last 27, 28 years where I represented both, and it went okay, but you could just see the propensity for things to go awry. Thank God, understanding people. Thank God the explanations were put into play. I work for the seller. If you want to use me, that's fine. I have to get the seller's permission because that's what I would always do. You be you for other agents. You don't have to follow me down that rabbit hole, but I would get their permission. Just like if I have a listing in a neighborhood, one of the neighbors called me and said, oh my gosh, I saw your 17K thing. I want to hire you, blah, blah. I would go to the seller, whoever had listing. Hey, your neighbor down the street, wants to sell their house. Is that okay? Or you want me to refer it? What do you want me to do? And, play it out like that. I think that's my code, and I think that works. So you got to be you. You got to feel it out. If you're going to be doing the dual agency thing, boy, I sure would really back all of that up in writing. There's some states that make it illegal. California, it's legal. It is legal to have dual agency in California using that same agent. You got to feel it out. I know a lot of agents will pitch it. I'm just not a fan. All right, there you go. So let's move into that. We got those numbers. Average listed price ratio. That's right now. Let me just give you a couple more. So we have 55 closed this last week. That average sold price, 900 grand, 34 bucks. $900,034. Median price, 833. That's 385 to 2.375 million. Total volume, $49.5 million in 7 days of real estate listings. Average square foot, 448. Median square foot, 427. Square foot range went on the low end, 207. Top end, 793. That's a 3.8 times spread on price per square foot. And that's all in ChrisNet MLS the same week. List to close ratio, average sales to list, 99.0%. That's accurate. That's a good job on these agents pricing these properties. Median sale to list, 99.56. So half of the sellers are essentially getting full ask. 19 of 55, that's 35% of those properties sold over asking. Interesting. 8 of 55, that's 15% sold at asking. 28 of 55, 28 out of 55, that's 51% sold under asking price. So half the market's getting full price or better, other half is negotiating. And the size of that haircut's the story. Now, let me tell you, when it comes to negotiation as a buyer, with any listing that I take, you be you and have your agent, if you're going to undercut any listing, this is just good rule of thumb when you hire your buyer's agent, don't let them scare you off of that. Now, if they have experience and they believe this property only being on the market 0 days or 1 day, that it's going to go quick, if they're the consummate expert, if they've been in this market a while and they've represented a few people, maybe you should heed that. But I know that's going to be tough. But you'll see, if this one doesn't work out and their word became true, but you didn't believe them, then the next one doesn't work out, but their word again saying you should move, this should be the price, it didn't work out because you didn't get it. And third or fourth time, eventually I think you're going to get it. And once you get it, don't look at it as a problem with the agent because they told you what they would do if they were you. Just, chalk it up and move forward, and then you'll get that seventh or eighth one down the road. Sometimes I found when I was representing buyers, the best lessons are those they have to learn. Now, I'm not going to put them in harm's way to have them learn a lesson. I'm not going to push them out in the street in front of the bus and say, good luck. That's not the way it works. But, when it comes to making offers, you can say what you'll do, but that buyer's the boss. They're hiring you to represent them in real estate. So you can tell them what you would do, and you can even be a prick about it. But ultimately, they can come back if they have the intestinal fortitude. And when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars potentially financed over 30 years, yeah, most people, I think, can come to Jesus in that moment and be completely honest. All right, I'm off the soapbox. We're done. Santa Clarita Real Estate. Sellersonlyagent.com, 17k.com. You have to spell it out. 17k. The other one's Chinese tabloid, I think. Anyway, don't get caught in that rabbit hole. Yeah, it was too close. All right, see you soon. Connor with Honor. Take care.